Are you looking for 12 magnificent fairytale castles around the world? The most famous fairytale castles are in all likelihood those that originate from legends and myths. Well-recognized examples are King Arthur's Camelot and the Cinderella and Sleeping Beaty castles that may be discovered in numerous topic parks across the international. This listing consists of their actual international opposite numbers and supply of inspiration. These actual fairytale castles are simply as magical, and maximum are related to tales and fairy memories in their own. Here is the list of 12 magnificent fairytale castles around the world. 12. Qasr Kharana. Qasr Kharana is one of the pleasant recognized of the wasteland castles placed in present-day Japanese Jordan, built someday earlier than the early 8th century. It's far one of the earliest examples of Islamic structure with inside the place. Having a constrained water deliver, it's far likely that Qasr Kharana sustained handiest transient utilization. And there are one-of-a-kind theories regarding the feature of the fort. It is able to wear a city-dress or assembly vicinity for Bedouins. 11. Conwy Castle. Conwy Castle became constructed among 1283 and 1289 at some stage in King Edward's 2D marketing campaign in North Wales. 6 years later, the fort became besieged with the aid of using the ultimate local Prince of Wales. The siege lasted for numerous months and materials ran low. However, the fort and metropolis had been now no longer captured. An estimated £15,000 become spent constructing the fort and the metropolis's defenses. The value of all of his 5 primary castles in Wales become around £60,000. The general value to Edward for his Welsh campaigns and fort constructing become with inside the place of a third of £1 million, more than 10 instances his annual income. 10. Bran Castle. Located in Romania, Bran Castle is normally mentioned as Dracula's castle, even though Vlad Tepes by no means referred to as this fort as domestic. The fort became first utilized in 1378 in defense in opposition to the Ottoman Empire, and later had become a customs publish at the mountain Biskip among Transylvania and Wallachia, while Vlad Tepes, the historic parent that become utilized in Bram Stoker's vampire novel, did now no longer without a doubt stay in Bran Castle. He did spend days locked within inside the dungeon whilst the Ottomans managed Transylvania. 9. Heidelberg Castle. The fort is placed 80 meters up the northern part of a hillside and dominates the view of the antique middle of the Germany metropolis of Heidelberg. The fort ruins are most of the maximum essential Renaissance systems north of the Alps. It has had a protracted and turbulent records for the reason that earliest fort shape become constructed with inside the 13th century, having been completely destroyed at some stage in the 30 Years' War, and later with the aid of using the French with inside the 17th century. The fort becomes struck with the aid of using lightning in 1764, or even its stones had been taken to construct new homes in Heidelberg. All this rebuilding has brought about a whole lot of architectural patterns, which provides to the fort's charm. 8. Chateau du Haut-Koenigsbourg. The Chateau du Haut-Koenigsbourg is nestled at a strategic place on an excessive hill overlooking the Alsatian Simple with inside the Bosges Mountains, France. It became utilized by successive powers from the Middle Ages till the 30 Years' War, whilst the fort became burned and pillaged with the aid of using Swedish troops after a 52-day siege. After this, the chateau became left unused for some 100 years and had become overgrown with the aid of using forest. In 1899, it became given to the German Emperor Wilhelm II and rebuilt because it became at the eve of the 30 Years' War. When the French confiscated the fort after WWI, it became taken into consideration elegant to sneer on the fort due to its hyperlinks to the emperor, many taken into consideration it to be not anything extra than a fairytale fort. 7. Chateau de Chillon. Located in a stunning setting among the beaches of Lake Geneva and the Alps, Chateau de Chillon is Switzerland's maximum visited ancient old monument. The fort includes 100 impartial homes that had been steadily linked and now shape an unmarried whole. From the mid-12th century, the fort became domestic to the Counts of Savoy and had become significantly extended with inside the 13th century. The fort became by no means taken in a siege, however did alternate arms via treaties. 6. Matsumoto Castle. Built with inside the 16th century, Matsumoto Castle is taken into consideration, certainly considered one among Japan's maximum well-known castles. It is a flatland fort as it isn't constructed on a hilltop or amid rivers. However, on a simple, the fort's entire defense is protected an in-depth gadget of interconnecting partitions moats, and gatehouses. During the Edo period, the fort became dominated with the aid of using the 23 lords of Matsumoto, representing 6 one-of-a-kind daimyo families. In this era, the stronghold became additionally referred to as Crow Castle due to the fact its black partitions and roofs appeared like spreading wings. 5. Burg Eltz. Burg Eltz is a medieval fort nestled inside the hills above the Moselle River among Koblenz and Trier in Germany. It remains owned with the aid of using a department of the Eltz own circle of relatives that lived there inside the 12th century. 33 generations ago, the Rubenack and Rodendorf families' houses inside the fort are open to the public, whilst the Kempenisch department of the own circle of relatives makes use of the opposite third of the fort. 4. Warwick Castle. Warwick Castle became constructed with the aid of using William the Conqueror in 1068. Since its production inside the 11th century, the fort has gone through structural modifications with additions of towers and redesigned residential homes, originally a wood shape. It became rebuilt in stone inside the 12th century. During the 100 Years' War, the facade contrary the metropolis became refortified, ensuing in one of the maximum recognizable examples of 14th century navy structure. In 2001, Warwick Castle became named certainly considered one among Britain's top 10 ancient homes and monuments with the aid of using the British Tourist Authority and is most of the maximum famous visitor sites in England. 3. Krak des Chevaliers. Krak des Chevaliers is extensively acknowledged because the archetypal crusader fort. The phrase Krak coming from the Syriac Krak, which means citadress, described with the aid of using Lawrence of Arabia as possibly the pleasant preserved and maximum fully admirable fort inside the international. This rather remoted website online is placed magnificently atop a 650-meter excessive hill and is, indeed, extraordinarily well preserved. The unique citadress on the place have been constructed in 1031 for the Emir of Aleppo and captured at some stage in the First Crusade. It became with the aid of using the Knights Hospitaller as their headquarters. The fort became extended among 1150 and 1250 and sooner or later housed a garrison of 2,000. Today it represents one of the most reliable visitor sites in Syria. 2. Alcazar of Segovia. Rising out on a rocky crag above the confluence of the rivers Eresma and Clamores in Segovia, the Alcazar is certainly considered one among Spain's maximum well-known castles. The Alcazar became at the start constructed as an Arab castle, however has served as a royal palace, a country prison, a royal artillery college, and a navy academy on account that then, during the Middle Ages, it became one of the favorite houses of the monarchs of the Kingdom of Castile and a key citadress inside the protection of the kingdom. It became at some stage in this era a majority of the contemporary constructing become constructed. 1. Neuschwanstein, the remaining fairytale fort. Neuschwanstein is located on a rugged hill close to Füssen in southwest Bavaria. It became the foundation for the Sleeping Beauty castles inside the Disneyland parks. The fort became commissioned with the aid of using King Ludwig II of Bavaria as a retreat, and as a homage to Richard Wagner, the fort became close to of entirety in 1886, whilst in 1886, the king became declared insane with the aid of using a country fee and discovered useless some days later. Since then, over 50 million humans have visited Neuschwanstein. It is the maximum photograph constructing in Germany and is one of the country's maximum famous visitor destinations.